Good evening, all. A warm welcome to all of you for the session on NEP National Education Policy 2020. Let me introduce Dr. Ravi to each and every one of you. Dr. Ravi has a vast experience and domain knowledge in the field of education, which makes her a champion in understanding how to better the learning ecosystem. Being a part of the changing education landscape for over 4 decades now, Dr. Ravi applies her depth of knowledge while interacting with different stakeholders involved in school education. The rich experience that she has gathered as an educationist, as an administrator, as a principal, as a trustee, as a director of education, and as a chairman and managing director of a consulting firm enables Dr. Ravi to critically analyze the strengths and weaknesses of the system and deliver the most appropriate solutions. It's a privilege to have Dr. Ravi with us today in this evening time. And without any further ado, I would like to invite her to take the session forward. Ma'am, the stage is all yours.
Great, great. Namaste to all of you. Very good evening to each and every one of you. Thank you, Binoy. Thank you, Nidhi. Wonderful to be part of Collins once again. And how are you all doing? Are you all doing good? Safe?
Fine, ma'am. Good evening.
Very good. Great. Good evening. Good evening. It's a pleasure. Actually, it is a pleasure. And sometimes like these kinds of meetings that Collins is organizing, it is something like an elixir for me because I get to see the principals, I get to see the teachers after a long time. Earlier, they were all physically present. I could see them. Now, at least virtually, I am able to appreciate them. I know it had been a very happening year in the sense happening in the space of learning, happening personally, personal space of life. Everywhere it had been a happening time. Now that the year is going to close, I wish you all a very happy, comfortable, cozy winter and a Merry Christmas to each one of you. Let us hope last December, when we thought January 2020 would be a brilliant year, even astrologers predicted that it is going to be beautiful for the world. It didn't happen that way. But in a way, several necessities came on our way and we learned quite a bit. So that's what I was telling Binoy and Nidhi, that we can't say that it was too bad. We would say that it taught us several things. It taught the principals to be much more organized, much more learned and intellectually stimulated, which otherwise we wouldn't get a chance to. Teachers were the ones. I must sincerely pat you all, teachers and principals. Think that I am there standing and hugging you. You deserve a big applause because you did it. It is not easy in such an uncertainty, such ambiguous situation to take the school along, to meet up with the responsibilities as a teacher and as a principal, and also to answer the parents, satisfy the students' needs. Society may fir bhi hamara naam, we have to keep all those things intact. It is not easy, but you have done it. That shows the world is yours. You are going to create brilliant students ahead. So with that kind of a small word of appreciation for each one of you, let me begin the topic. The topic is about national education policy. And this national education policy had been it created a buzz in the whole country. Somewhere 3-4 months back, when the draft was put out, it had its own appreciation. It had its own flack. It received criticisms as well. But if you ask me, I had been an educationist for the last 40 years. I would tell you, my very beloved principals and teachers, that it is one of the best educational policies ever made. There are reasons for it, which we will be doing one by one when we go through it. I am 100% sure that most of you would have had a chance to go through it. So I am not going to teach you anything new here. Probably whatever you know already, I may be refreshing your knowledge once again. That is all. As principals and teachers, you might have had a privilege to go through it already. Now, you all of you know that Finnish system of education is the best in the world. You know that. Finland actually has the best system of education in the world. And what I have heard from the people who have visited Finland schools is that they start their educational system from the age of 8. Until the age of 8 is the foundational year for them. Age 8 onwards, they allow the students to come to school. Till then, the children are given necessary skills to the students, and then they do a lot of preparation before coming to the school, and they do it. And Finland system of education doesn't even have a kind of a modified kind of
So everyone is requested to please put yourself on mute, everybody, please. Thank you so much.
Yeah, great. So they don't have a regular system of education that we all had till yesterday. They follow integrated system of education, thematic learning, project learning, giving a lot of emphasis to skill development, value development, etc. And the teachers in those country, in that country, is supposed to be the best ever available in the world, because they are treated so very respectfully, they are paid so very well, and they are also taken care of by the government. Now, when I went through the NEP, I could get a feeling that it is almost on par with the NEP, if not exactly. A lot of similarities we could say. It is not that we never had all these systems in the past. We had, but we were not bringing it forth. So this national education policy is something which there are around 8 aspects of 8 paths, I would say, or rather I would say 8 hands it has. We will try one by one, and probably you can recollect what you have learned about it. Okay. And so here, the National Education Policy 2020 is the thing which we are going to do today. In the first 1 minute, I may be able to say about NEP in a nutshell, and then the structure. The structure is into 8-fold. Early childhood care and education is the first one, the foundation of learning literacy. Then the foundational literacy and numeracy, an urgent and necessary prerequisite to learning. That is what the government says. Then curtailing dropout rates and ensuring universal access to education at all levels. Okay. These are all the same titles from the education policy I have taken. Then curriculum and pedagogy in schools. Learning should be holistic, integrated, enjoyable, and engaging. Then it talks a lot about teachers. It talks about equitable and inclusive education, learning for all, and then efficient resourcing and effective governance through school complexes and clusters, and standard setting and accreditation for school education. These are the 8 things that we will be discussing. Certain things are so very, very essential for you, whereas certain other things are administratively important for you. So you need to know that as principals and teachers. Now, NEP in a nutshell, if I say, what does NEP, after 34 years of elaborating on educational policies, we have come up with a very clear structure. NEP wants a holistic development in students so that they become wonderful citizens of India. And instead of India, the national education policy is talking Bharat. The vision statement has Bharat. So it is not going to make much of a difference whether it is India or Bharat, but then the purpose is concentrating on the entire holistic development of the child. Now you may ask me, wasn't it earlier also? Everywhere we had been hearing this holistic development like that. Yes, we were hearing it, but here, this holistic development, what they are talking about is in every sense of the term. Be it their skills, be it their values, or be it their technical skill, or talking about the sustainable development, or about the competencies of each child and nurturing the child for a better learning. Everything is about, and it also talks about teachers, how teachers are going to be developing such students, and for developing such students, what is required for the teacher. So in nutshell, NEP is talking about human development with the available material resources in every possible way. It also talks about the necessary infrastructure development. It also talks about the support system, what the government of India is going to offer to the school. It talks about the growth need, the developmental imperative of the system of education, and bring in quality into the system. And therefore, it also talks about a quality assessment system. So in nutshell, your academics is taken care of, administration is taken care of, infrastructure is taken care of, quality is taken care of, skill development, value integration is taken care of. So it touches everything in one go, and that is why it is called a holistic development. This is what NEP is doing. Now let us see how all the 8 aspects are touched upon. This you have seen it. I have just exactly lifted it from the draft policy. Now you see on the left-hand side of yours, you can see here there is a black thing shown, right? A black box. This was not defined in the earlier system so many years back. See, recall many schools today has pre-school, nursery school, senior KG, junior KG, senior KG, nursery classes, etc., etc. Now, this was not recognized at all by the government. Okay, then why did the parents put the children into nursery, KG, senior KG, etc.? Because most of the senior KG, junior KG schools had their primary schools, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that, up to 10, in some cases, middle school, exactly that way. Therefore, these people, parents, wanted to procure an admission, so they put the children into their own nursery school so that they will become a feeder school for their primary schools. And not only that, in the premises, those were all good schools, so they wanted their children to get the first-hand experience of schooling experience. Okay, so that was the reason, but it was not organized at all. That is what this black thing shows in the earlier system. Then what we had, standard 1 onwards. Now, when did standard 1 start? 6th age 6 onwards till 16, which was the 10 years, and that was the standard 1 to 10. And 17 and 18 were the adolescent group, wherein you had the senior secondary, 11th and 12th standard. See, 16 and 17 and 18, those 2 years. So it was 10 plus 2 system only. So long. Okay. The difference is now in the pedagogy. The total pedagogy has changed. The academic structure has changed. Now, when the structure itself changes, the construction will change. The requirement will change. The appearance will change. Now, if you see this black spot, which you see on the left-hand side, is shown here in the green spot. You can see that. This green one shows 3 years of Anganwadi or preschool or Balvatika. That is how they call it. Okay. So 3 years in village, rural area, they call it as Anganwadi. And Anganwadi had also got teachers, if not very experienced people. Few teachers were handling their responsibilities. And then 2 years, class 1 and 2. So 3 years in the preschool and 1 and 2 years, that was forming the 5 year. Okay, 5 years. These 5 years were called the foundational years. Why are they called? Why is it called foundational years? Because this is the stage where, please understand that when the child is in the womb of the mother, the brain must have started developing and almost the development is over. As and when the child comes out of the womb of the mother, the child is ready to grasp as much as information as possible. Now, how does the learning takes place or new knowledge takes place in the brain of the child? Every neuron, which is all fixed up all over, trillions of neurons are there in the brain. Now, any piece of information falling onto the neuron will be moving from one neuron to the other through a chemical. All right. And that will be associating link. And when the link is properly established, the children are learning. All right. So learning starts taking place right when the child is born. The child doesn't have to be told who the mother is. When the mother touches the child itself, the child knows who the mother is. The smell of the mother itself will tell the child who the mother is. That may not happen with the father. That may not happen with the others. But the mother is unique for the child. How does the child know it? The brain gets acclimatized to certain patterns of learning. All right. So this is said that the theories and research say that from the period of birth of the child till 8 years or 9 years, the children learn as much as possible. Maximum learning takes place in the brain. Association of learning takes place in the brain. How? When they see certain things, when suppose, for example, if I tell you, one small example, if I tell you, you will be able to appreciate it. Suppose a child is walking through the night, in the night, let us assume so. So a rope is lying on the road and little darkness. The child will immediately, the brain will say, caution, take a caution. It is a snake. It is a snake. Then when the child tends to go near, it realizes it is not a snake, it is a rope. Similarly, when you draw a circle, even if a little part of the circle is not complete, not touching each other, the mind bridges the gap. You see it as a circle only. Why does this happen? Because the brain always associates with some knowledge which has already taken place. All right. So this 8 years, crucial 8 years, which they call it as the foundational years, the government of India feels is very crucial. So principals and teachers and the school management, please give emphasis to this period, make maximum out of it, because the children learn their language and mathematics during this time very well. And if they learn it, they learn it. If they don't learn it, it will be discarded. Then how much ever you try, you will not be able to teach them. That is why certain subjects at the age of 11 and 12, when we talk about the child's progress to the teacher, mein kitna bhi batao, उनको math पसंद नहीं है, उनको English पसंद नहीं है. It is not पसंद नहीं है. He has not developed his interest at all in the brain. Not that he is dull. So in the smaller classes, please do give importance to language development and mathematics. Science and other subjects will come automatically. Don't worry. So 3 plus 2 years become the first foundational years. Then you move to, so far our primary education was up to 5th standard, isn't it? All that is gone. Now it is 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. So this 3 is called the preparatory stage. Now this preparatory stage 3 to 5, that is grade 3, 4 and 5, that is age 8 to 11. This age is so precious for the schools. Why is it so precious for the schools? Because the children are neither teen, nor adolescent, nor children. They are in between a flux stage. So you have to prepare them, groom them very carefully. Teachers will know sitting there how difficult it is to handle this age group of children because they are so curious, so enthusiastic.
How to protect from sun and
they want to know what the entire world is about. They are so curious. Okay, so 8 to 11 years, which is called the preparatory stage. Then comes 6 to 8. Okay, that is the middle age. That is the teen age, they call it. The teenage is so crucial for all the social development, technical development, skill development, and knowledge about the world, looking at the globe, what it is, the world around them. And then 9 to 12, that is 14 to. This is also extremely important for the school. So the pedagogy is changing now to 3 plus 2, sorry, 5 plus.
Okay, please put yourself on mute, everybody. Request you to put yourself on mute. Thank you so much. Sorry, ma'am. Please continue.
No problem. If next time it happens, you mute it from your side, maybe.
Sure, ma'am. Sure.
That is the only way. You can't help it. And
so
let them raise their hand.
Let me mute everybody and then I'll unmute you, ma'am.
They can raise their hand if they have a doubt.
Sure. So, ma'am, just a minute. I'm muting everybody and then I will unmute you. Okay, ma'am. Just a minute, please. Sorry, everybody. There was a lot of noise and ma'am, you can unmute yourself now. Vijay, ma'am. Yeah. Thank you so much.
So this is the pedagogy which has been given. Now, the 8 things we have taken up, this is how it goes. The first is called the early childhood care and education, which is the foundation of learning. Then comes foundational literacy and numeracy, an urgent and necessary prerequisite for learning. Curtailing dropout rates and ensuring universal access to education at all levels. Curriculum pedagogy in schools, learning should be holistic, integrated, enjoyable, and engaging. Then comes a big thing about teachers. Then equitable and inclusive education, learning for all. Then efficient resourcing and effective governance through school complexes and clusters. So this 8-fold path for school education is all what you need to remember. Let us see, before getting into the early childhood education, how the brain of the little baby is taking the messages, taking the learnings like this. This is a courtesy to Times of India. It came in the Times of India. Now, the right side of the brain of the child, you see, it is so curious. Little babies are so very curious to know each and everything. What the pre-primary school teachers up to age 8 is to know, is to kindle their curiosity. Now, fundamentally, learning is because of curiosity. If there is a curiosity, there is a learning. All right. So developing curiosity is the fundamental job of the teacher. Keep the children always, always, always learning. Now, logical thinking and problem solving. Children want to know, haven't you heard the children asking you, why can't it be like this? Why shouldn't it be? Allow the children. Allow the children to ask you umpteen questions. Then art, craft and music, this is the best time to teach the children. They will pick up that very, very fast because the brain is ready for them. Relationship with nature, they can relate immediately with pets, animals, everything, plant, everything with nature, color, shape, etc. Teamwork and collaboration, they will very easily make friends with their own age group. Play-based learning, ethics, values will be easily caught. Remember one thing, values can never ever be taught. It can only be caught. If you want your children to learn values, you behave in that value. If you want your children to say namaste to you in the morning, you start saying namaste to them. If they want you to, if you want them to smile at you and wish you, you start smiling and wishing at them. This is the best thing possible. So a role model, then self-identity. They have great pride in saying, who am I? Haven't you seen children born like 3 or 4 year old children putting their legs into the papa's shoes or mama's chappals and walking taka, 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 because they want. These are all symptoms. These are all symptoms to show that there is an urge in the child to grow big, learn more. Etiquette, behavior, emotional development, everything is happening. On the right side, this is happening. On the left side of the brain, this is all what is happening. What you need to do is to touch all these. These are all neurons. These small dots are all neurons. Now, what you need is, these are the chemicals connecting them, making association. Connect all of them. You have to connect them. The teachers have to connect them. See, I tell you one thing. It may not be out of place, and probably you will be able to understand it better also. All of us love our mother, don't we? When we were all children, what did our mother do? Take us, put us into her lap, isn't it? And mother's lap was the most beautiful place in the world. Even today, if we get a chance, we can go. Those people who have their mothers are pretty lucky. Those who don't have, sympathize. I am also, I don't have the mother now. But then even at this age, we all want Amma means Amma. Now, what did the mother do so much? The mother, when you lie on the lap, what does she do? Her left hand will be just holding you, and the right hand would be going through the hair like this, isn't it? She will be touching you, soothing, and her fingertips, if you see, will be touching the scalp, isn't it? What actually happens is a science. The neurons in all those places are getting pulsated. That's what your mother was learning. That is why you showed so much of interest in learning everything. For some people, it induced sleep. They would sleep off. Tremendous peace in mother's lap. Why? Because the brain cells were so very, very happy. We need that kind of a touch. The teachers, especially in the primary classes and lower primary classes and the preschool classes, their touch, this palm, this fingers, their touch work wonders. So they learn. Let us go now one by one. Early childhood care, ECC means early childhood care, and what they are saying, government, is that it should be a flexible, activity-based, inquiry-based learning. Now, as of now, I know plenty of schools, need not be in Gujarat alone, across the country, what the schools do, and sometimes I pity the school managements, they spend huge amount of money in buying certain curriculum. And some people are available in the world to sell the curriculum. I'm not talking about textbooks. I'm talking about the curriculum, the concept, and they buy it. They say that this is our world-class curriculum, available hai, itna crore, and you buy it and you do it. Okay, now the government is saying there will be a uniformity, and the national curriculum pedagogy for education, for early childhood care and education, NCPFECCE, National Council for National Curriculum Pedagogy for Early Childhood Care and Education. They are they are going to do the flexible activity based curriculum for you, which comes to you by virtue of recognizing your preschool. Government itself is recognizing your preschool. Government itself is going to give you the preschool curriculum. You don't have to spend additional amount of money. The necessary textbooks are also, the scope of the textbook would also be given. The state board or state government can engage people to write the textbook. There are several publishers who would be coming up with based on the text. Therefore, you don't have to go for a separate kind of a thing. Then involving art, stories, poetry, games, songs, and more, 0 to 3 years. In the sense, what they say is that the little children would learn through stories, which all of us know. If a story is told, we are also very interested in listening to it because learning is better. Songs. Okay. Have you seen the preschool teachers are the youngest in the school all the time? They may be 50, 60, but they at their heart, they are so young. Why? Because they move with young children. Such beautiful way you can teach the children art, music, little activity, psychomotor developmental activity. With that, you teach the children. Then high quality infrastructure, play equipment, well-trained teachers are all going to be mandatory. What they are saying is that the teachers need to be highly qualified, and there is going to be some kind of a credential that the teachers may be required to teach in those classes. Like before, it is not possible for you to engage anyone and everyone. Okay, you may have to appoint teachers who are qualified with this early childhood education, and there are going to be institutes which are going to give you authorized training program, which does not mean that the existing teachers will be thrown away. No, not at all. What the government says is that those existing teachers, like the ashram shalas are there. Plenty of ashram shalas across the rural India and several other places. All those ashram shalas have preschool teachers. They may not be trained. What the government says is that the government will make training mandatory and will give facilities to train those teachers according to the new pedagogy, new system of education. The planning and implementation of all these things will come under MHRD and Women and Child Development and Family Welfare Departments. So NCERT, which is the National Council for Research and Teacher Development Area Training, that is going to work with the WCD, that is Women and Child Development, and also Health and Family Welfare. They will be working with them, developing the curriculum which is required for the children based on the age group, and they will also take essential steps to train those teachers who are not trained so far in all those activities which they are talking about, So that is what is going to happen. A very systematic effort is going to be taken by the government. So the school managements can be really happy about it. The principals can be really happy about it. you can write to the government, or the government itself will be coming forward with different plans and training programs, as well as the material resources for learning. This is what they are talking about, early childhood care and education. And this is going to be, now the beauty is that it is formalized. So right royally, at the age of 3 or 3.5, you can admit students into this group. And you, apart from all what the government has given, you are most welcome to train your children the way you want. That freedom is also given. Foundational literacy and numeracy is the second point. They call it as FLN, an urgent necessary prerequisite to learning. This is very, very important. Why is it very important? Because I tell you why. Most of our children find it very difficult to read and write. Why do they find it very difficult to read and write? Because they are not able to read continuously. Reading is fundamental to learning. Even before, in most of the schools, I am not blaming any particular school, but generally what I have seen is that at the age of 3 or 3.5 itself, the teachers will be, I've seen them training the children to write A, B, C, D, A for apple, B for da, 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 as though the English alphabet is the world. No, you don't have to, because the children cannot hold a pencil or anything at the age of 3 or 3.5. They can't write it. The muscular coordination is not so very strong. Children are just developed. They have come to this world some 900 days or 1,000 days before. How can we be so cruel in making the children sit and do that? Don't do it. I had been a principal of a huge school where preschool was there. I used to tell my preschool teachers, don't teach them anything. For first 6 months, just talk to them. Talk to them, talk to them, talk to them. Make them talk. Talk, talk, talk. Whatever language, if it is Marathi or Hindi or Gujarati or whatever language they want to talk, let them talk in that language. You respond to them in English if it is an English medium school. They will say, my teachers used to say, unko pata nahi hai, they will not understand. I said, who said? Who said they will not understand? They will. They will. Because if you say, come on, if you call, the children know what come on means. You come near. Isn't it? And talk to them. Let the children speak in their mother tongue. There's nothing wrong with mother tongue learning. All right, your fundamentals will be very much in place. What the government also wants is that literacy and numeracy are the two major emphasis points which the government is saying. And I'm telling you, principals and teachers, keep this in mind. You don't have to worry about anything else in the preschool up to grade 2. You give importance to reading. Let the children read. Let the children first speak. Or even speaking ke pehle aata hai listening. The children should listen. It is not that they hear. Listening is much more a complicated activity, and that has to happen here. When they listen, it triggers some responses. Hey, keep quiet. When you say, the children sit. What was that? That was a response, which means they listen. It's not that they hear. So listening is first one. Speaking is the second one. Reading is the third one. Writing comes much later. So please do follow this order for a literacy. And there was the speech by the Prime Minister of India where he emphasized this FLN very, very clearly. What he said was that the children should be able to read fluently. By 2025, maximum by 2030. 2025, he says children should be able to read faster. at least in 1 minute, they should be able to read 30 to 35 words. That's what he was mentioning, which is exactly what academicians like all of us say. The children should be able to read 30 to 35 words in a minute. Now, you may ask, how is it possible? It is very much possible. In your internal assessment or in your assessment of the little ones, reading can be one assessment, making the children read. Now, there is a very important scientific theory which you have to remember, which I've been telling people for a long time, that reading is an art. And the reading should be, usually our teachers have a habit. It is time immemorial. It is not that the present day teachers are doing it. No, from time immemorial, I have seen them doing it. Suppose it is a word. Suppose the cat was sitting on the mat. Imagine that is a sentence. Then the teacher will be touching. What is this, beta? What is the next word? This is a very wrong way of doing things. Do not use your pen or pointed thing to show a particular word. What happens, I tell you, when you read this, the child would have read the first word, the, and for the child to recall what is the next word, the cat, the phonetics, cat, okay? The cat sat on the mat. When they say that, by the time the child has ended the sentence, the meaning is lost. The child will not know the meaning. He would have read it, but meaning is lost. So teach your children to read from left to right at a go. The cat sat on a mat. Now it makes sentence. It makes sense. So reading is a skill, principles sitting there. Please do take a sincere effort to train your teachers for developing the reading habits in students. And numeracy. Numeracy from 1 to, I have seen schools, wherever I go for a visit or consultancy, the teachers are very happy. They will ask me to go to the senior class and the senior KG classes or junior KG classes or even nursery sometimes. And you know, madam, our children know 1 to 50 so well, reading, writing, everything. Huh? Is it so? Yes, very good. Okay. The child will be saying, the teacher would be asking, what to say, beta, 1 to 50, 1 to 3, 50. So, in between, if I touch one number, and ask the child, what is it? The child will be blinking. Orally, remember, our children are so good in remembering. Remembering is very good with our children. But remembering has to coordinate with learning. So, learning literacy and numeracy is a difficult job in the preliminary years. And so, my very dear teachers and principals, you can spend a lot of time on it. Don't worry about completion of portions, but completion of a job very well done. And so they are saying reading and writing numeracy at the foundational level up to grade 3 by 2025. The reading, oral reading fluency should be, comprehension must be always taken up as an assessment mode. National Mission on Foundational Literacy and Numeracy will be set up by the Ministry of Human Resources and Development. So this will be, this MHRD group, the National Mission of on Foundational Literacy, NMFLN, will be formed by the MHRD, and that will give you the guidance towards this. Then teacher vacancies, they are asking the management to fill up fast. And increased curricular focus on FLN, high quality resources on foundational literacy and numeracy will be made available on the digital infrastructure for knowledge sharing, which is called Diksha. This will be, Diksha will be shared with the school managements, and here you will get plenty of quality resources. Apart from that, you have your own textbooks to fall back on, what all knowledge is being shared by people. So you have all these things. A national book promotion policy is being taken up under this, which will introduce well-trained social workers, counselors, and community involvement into the school system also will take place. This is a book promotion policy. This is about introducing school social workers and counselors and community involvement into the schooling system. How the schooling system, what they are talking about is that what they want to say is that the adults, the social workers, or even the school, I think you can take up this as a social service kind of a project or something like that. The educated people can take up. The village schools will be there or rural schools will be there, where reading, language development and numeracy development will be sometimes very low. So each adult, if they take up that responsibility of giving them some responsibility, or even your own children who are very good, they can take up. This is the kind of a social service which you can do. Then digital libraries and enjoyable and inspirational books for students at all levels. Now, this is something which is lacking in our country. If you see, go abroad, the child literature is tremendous. I have a request to Collins to make also. The literature for children should improve in India. So probably in regional language also, and probably in English. Child literature is very less in India. Writers are less, authors are less here. Digital libraries will be set up here, and why not even your teachers? You all will have good teachers who are good in writing. Why not you all start writing literature for children? You have HarperCollins to publish it. Why not? Curtailing dropout rates and ensuring universal access to education at all levels. This is the third point. This is something administrative, but it is very important that the school management and principals remember this very well. Education for all by 2030 is a very important aspect. So access to education is compulsory. You have Right to Education Act today that will be much more stringent, and admission to all children would be really, really important for you. So dropout rates, children who are dropping out for various reasons. Why children drop out? Probably because of economic background, probably because there are no schools, probably children will have to travel a long distance to go to the higher classes, or probably no admission possible available. So whatever reason the children are dropping out, what the government is saying, that all will have to be stopped. Education for all by 2030. So you as a school will have to administratively think. This is a very important message for the school managements and principals. You are responsible. You are representatives of school management. At least in coming 10 years, maybe you will have to develop a structure. I'm not talking about infrastructure. Infrastructure is not required anymore, that much. But the preparedness to accommodate children into your school from all categories would be a need, which you may have to administratively think about it. And also, not only that, provide effective and efficient and sufficient infrastructure to safely engage students from grade 1 to 12, curtailing dropout. 1 to 12 should be arranged for children. Infrastructure should be developed. You may ask, where do we go? Now, one thing what the government is saying is that infrastructure would be available to you. They are also saying in some places, if the management wants to set up institutes, and they are ready to give admissions to the socially and economically disadvantaged group. You know, you have recently seen a teacher winning the prize. You remember one US $1 million award for the best teacher, innovative teacher. He was working with the CDGs only, socially and economically disadvantaged group, the girl children, their education. So what the government is saying, those managements which are willing to come forward to take up these kind of activities in rural area, they are ready to support. Maybe a private public partnership is also what they are talking about. Funding, they are talking about. Facilities, or giving you the land and other facilities also they are talking about. So you can think about all these things, and if you have great system in your existing case or managements, you can think about that. Dropout has to be reduced. Universal participation for tracking student participation and equitable quality education. Now, this is something which is very, very important. Now, you may ask, how is it going to be helpful to you? Because what the management says is that now one more thing I forgot to say here, there are something called, they are also talking about National Institute of Open Schooling, NIOS. That is also something you can do, managements can do towards this cause. I tell you how. You may not have infrastructure to admit children, then you can start NIOS, you will get affiliation for that, and you can admit children from the neighboring places. They don't have to attend. And if some of your good teachers can spare some time, maybe take a nominal fee from those people if required, and then teach those children through National Institute of Open Schooling. You can prepare your children for examination, 10th standard examination. That also the government is seriously promoting. Management can think about that. And as I said, participation, universal participation is very important, wherein the students will have to get equitable quality education, whoever they are, be from a rich background or a poor background or a middle background, wherever they are, they have to get equal participation. This is very important, and this is being tracked by the government. That is something which you have to remember. You cannot deny admission to anybody just like that, unless and otherwise there is a chance, which is being tracked, because the school management is going to get a policy of expressing yourself transparency onto the website. All your details must be available to the government on the website. Therefore, they are going to have a tracking system. A department is created for that, which would ensure that the children are all going to get access to good education. Special focus on socio-economically disadvantaged groups through ODL, Open Distance Learning, and NIOS, which I have mentioned to you. Requirements of schools made less restrictive to encourage more people to start schools, maybe through a PPP, private public partnership, those remote areas. So this could be, schools are usually started by trust. So the trust can think of, there are number of trusts which are doing yeoman service to the field of education. Those trusts can think of reaching out to those disadvantaged group who cannot even have good education at any point in time. So this particular slide is primarily useful to the school managements and principals. Now let us see curriculum and pedagogy in school. This is so very, 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 very crucial and important to both of you. How is it important? Because first it is talking about holistic education, development in 21st century skills and values. Now it is wanting you to develop the emotional, physical, social, behavioral, and spiritual development of your entire group of children. This is talking about, now earlier the schools had the, what do you call, co-curricular activities, extracurricular activities and all that, right? Now the government says, don't ever say that it is going to be a co-curricular activity or a curricular activity separately. It is going to be together. It is art, craft, music, PE, dance, anything you call it, everything has to be integrated, effectively learned together. That is what they are talking about. And you have to talk about the skills what are required, the creativity skill, the working in collaboration, then communication, problem solving skills, analytical skills, management skills, leadership skills. These are all the skills which they want, and also a scientific temper. What do you mean by scientific temper? Nothing else. Asking questions. You should allow your students to ask n number of questions. Here, you were asking questions till now. Now, the students are encouraged to ask questions to you, which means we need to upgrade our knowledge. That is very important. And asking questions, when does it happen? When they are curious. So curiosity comes when you are interested. Then you will be interested when you have the right attitude. So you have to develop the right attitude, right interest and curiosity in children to ask questions, and holistically the children will have to learn. Now, children, by virtue of being children, their nature itself is to ask questions. Growing is a need, and they will learn. They will need it. They will always be ready to ask questions and quench their thirst of knowing more. So that is something, the first point. The second point, what they are talking about is experiential learning, arts integrated and sports integrated education, storytelling based pedagogy, integrating subject. Now, this is something very important for you. Now, experiential learning talks about, earlier, we were so much dependent on chalk and board, isn't it? And in between came your smart board. Isn't it? All that, those are gone. Smart mode may be useful for some more time, but then more than that, the children have to experience learning. How will you experience learning? If you are wanting to know, like, what Rousseau said, naturalism is a philosophy of education which is started by Rousseau. Now, what Rousseau says is that children will learn by experiencing everything. So somebody is asking a question. Suppose the child goes and puts his hands in the fire. How will he learn? Don't you have to prevent it? No. He says, no. Let the child go there. When it becomes hot, automatically he will withdraw his hand. He won't put the hand into it. So experience is the mother of learning. So the children need to be engaged. Now you may ask, as schools and principals, ये कैसे कर सकता है हमको ये experiential learning कैसे हो सकता है? That is what it is called as project based learning. That is experienced learning. Suppose you want to teach the children about transport. What are the different kinds of transport? How do they carry? What is the purpose of a transport? How, why, who, when? All those things you want to teach the children. More than a board or a smart board teaching or a visual, it would be ideal if you divide your children into smaller groups. Suppose you have 40 children in your class. If I am the class teacher, I would make the children into 8 groups. And 8 groups don't have your seating arrangement, just like the usual seating arrangement. You have an arrangement where they sit together. Even if your table, chair are all square and rectangle, put them all together as a round table or a square table in between, and all the 3 or 4 children sitting across. Talk to the children about transport. Write it on the board. Transport. Children, we are going to learn about transport today. What all things you know about transport. Ask each group to put their heads together, discuss with each other, and you don't utter one word. All right? You are only facilitating the learning. Take the children to the library. Previously inform your librarian to keep all the books that are available on transport out. It could be about car, it could be about truck, train, aeroplane, rocket, or whatever. Put them all. Ask the librarian also to put up books on trade and commerce. Transport is not only for transport. Ask the teachers to put on tourism books. It is also for enjoyment, entertainment, travel, relation building, cultural activities, sports. Everything is linked with that, and let the children be given sufficient books. If the librarian is helpful to you or your support teacher or whoever are there, sit and read the books for the children, make them understand what it is, let them think about again, come to the class, put their heads again, and let group by group tell you what you mean by transport. Write it on the board. Group A says this, Group B says this, Group C says this, consolidated. Let the children tell that for you. They learned this. Now, if you have a video or something to show from National Geographic or anywhere, show it to them. Now, you also don't stop with this. You will integrate values while you teach transport. What is the value you are going to teach in transport? What values you can teach in transport? Yes, it is relation building, isn't it? You are taking one person from one place to the other place. Who's doing it? The driver, isn't it? Does he know you? No, he doesn't know you, but he takes you, isn't it? And what do? You trust him. So it is a feeling of trust in a person whom you do not know, with the confidence that he will take you from one place to the other. The confidence in a person. The driver also is doing a paropakar, a kindness, a service. He may be getting salary, forget salary part of it. He is helping people. Who are all the travelers? Most of us travel for job. Most of us attend school. Most of them children go to school. Most of them will be carrying several dreams in their mind. Interviews के लिए जाने वाले लोग रहेंगे. All right. So they are all carrying dreams and aspirations. What is this fellow doing? This fellow is taking someone from some place to the other. So he is helping them realize the dreams. Trade and commerce, economy, transport is related with so many things. Sports, music, international associations, relationship. What all things you can teach the children? So experiential learning gives the children a lot of importance for connecting the subjects and learning together. Now here, competency-based learning, specific set of skills and values across domains will be identified for integration, knowledge, skills, and aptitudes. So here what you do is that not all children have the same competence in learning. Some children learn very well orally, some by writing, some by speaking, some visually learn. So several children have several capacities for learning. Competencies are different. So what the government of India is asking you is to look into the competencies of children and teach them accordingly. So you have to link the skill, the competencies, and the aptitude. Where is the child interested in? What is he wanting to do? So when you do the project method itself, these things can be drafted. Yes, I have among my 40 children in the class, I have children who can learn orally, who can learn visually. So I would be able to arrange the system of learning. My techniques of learning and teaching would be based on the competencies of the children. You may ask, how is it possible, madam? It is very much possible when you group the children accordingly. All right. Then comes concept learning through critical thinking, inquiry-based, discovery-based, discussion-based, and analysis-based learning. These are all 21st century skills. Now, earlier, you had a textbook and teachers were covering the portions. I would say you have to discover the portions. Don't worry about covering the portion. Here, what they are saying is that don't worry about the entire content. In that entire content, if suppose you are teaching acid, bases, and salt in class 7 or 8, then you have to talk to the children about what an acid is, what a base is, what a neutral substance is, what is a salt. When an acid reacts with a base, you get a salt. And what is a pH? So 5 or 6 kind of concepts you may have to teach through example. So what they are saying is that no more teach content, but teach concepts. So if concept-based teaching is important, there comes critical thinking. Children may ask you questions, why, where, when. Critically, they may analyze, and they also will be able to discuss. So your classroom teaching strategy, in fact, what I have seen, my very dear teachers, is that rather than you doing your board and chalk and discussion methods, this discussion method of teaching takes you quickly through your topic. You don't have to, in 6 periods, if you are going to complete a topic, you will complete it in 4 or 5 periods. Discussion, why? You know why? Because children are participating. Anything where they participate, they learn. Anything where you participate, you only learn. They will not. It belongs to you. You are teaching. You are doing it. We are not involved. We are listeners. And so I have a freedom whether to listen to you or not. Right? तो उनको उतना मन में नहीं रहेगा. So involve the children, engage the children in the class. Then comes flexibility in course choices, wider range of subjects, including across the arts, sciences, humanities, languages, sports, and vocational subjects. Now, what they are talking about, I was very pleasantly surprised the last time or before that. Collins was describing about the book, what they have written about linking essential subjects, how they have integrated, how they have talked about digital learning, decoding, coding, decoding, and several other technical skills. They have mathematics and science for PSA and all those things they were mentioning. So those are the kinds of learning, those are going to be in your place, flexibility. So they are saying from class 6 on, you are supposed to be teaching coding. So children can write programs. All right. So children can write programs. And here also, let me warn you teachers and the principal, there will be hundreds and 300 people, agencies approaching your schools for taking up your coding. We will do it, we will do it, we will do it. My sincere request to the principals is that do not engage anybody by paying so much of money, but engage your own teachers who are computer teachers, who are capable enough to teach your children coding. If they require a little more training, send them for training, develop that talent inside. That would be a recognition for your computer teachers, and also they would be more engaged and they would teach your other teachers as well. So think about the flexibility and the course of subjects. That is what they are saying. You can choose whatever subject you want to. It is not that you will, if you learn only science, you will learn only science. You can learn PE, you can learn music. Options are wide. Just like abroad, you are having a lot of freedom to choose whatever subjects you wanted to. Then comes curricular integration. Now, what is this curricular integration? Promoting multilingualism, grade 5 tak, mother tongue teaching, teachers encouraged bilingual approach, 3 language formula, etc. Here, what we need to remember is that multilingualism is a very big boost for this NEP. I tell you why. They are asking the children to learn till 5th grade in mother tongue. And I would say a big yes to it, because I have learned everything in mother tongue. It's not that I was born and brought up in British countries. No. I'm an Indian. I have a language. I have a mother tongue. I learned it. Am I not speaking English today? Yes, I am. So English is a language which you can acquire. But your mother tongue, you know what we have done today to our children? Our children rarely speak in mother tongue at home, especially from those schools which are only English medium school. Because at schools also, we insist, oh, speak in English, speak in English. If you don't speak in English, you have a fine. I understand. I agree. That is why the schools are insisting, because they want the children to get the access, ability to speak. Good one. At home also, if the mothers and parents are all talking in English, where is the child going to learn the mother tongue? It will disappear. The government is pretty clear that till 5th standard, ideally, you should allow the children to learn in mother tongue. The 3 language formula is very much there. English you can teach, there is no problem, anything you can teach. And what they are insisting is something very important, very interesting, is that the multilingualism, they are talking that the high quality bilingual textbooks will be prepared by the government. High quality bilingual textbook. Suppose it is English, your own state, suppose it is Gujarat, where you are from, then Gujarati mein wo translation will be there. That kind of textbooks will be done. And they are also talking about classical language learning. Sanskrit has to be taught through Sanskrit only, simple language of Sanskrit, not bombastic language. Other classical languages of the state, like Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam, Tamil, Oriya, Marathi, several languages are there, classical languages are there. They are insisting that the children, before they come through education, before they get through the school education, they will be at least 2 years, they should be learning some language and some proficiency in the language. So all the language teachers sitting out there, you should be happy, because the government is giving tremendous importance to language learning and mathematics learning. Now comes National Curriculum Framework for School Education will be formed. To do all these things, the government is setting up a National Curriculum Framework for School Education, which will be giving the scope of syllabus very soon, and the textbooks will start coming in that, and general for the entire country, uniformity. National textbooks with local content and flavor using high quality textbook materials will be developed by NCERT in conjunction with the State Council, SCERT. Okay, what they say is that the National content or concept for education will be the same across the public and private school. But as per the state, they want the government, they want the state government to support with the state's culture. Whatever is the cultural background, the bhasha of the state, they want the textbooks to be created in the state language. That also is insisted upon. That's what they are saying. The reduction, and also they have reduced the content and concept is highlighted, and they want this to be translated into the regional language for the benefit of children and teachers. So this is also, the responsibility is going to be taken up by NCERT. The details will be coming to the school managements very soon, or it must have already started coming in. And so you don't have to worry about it. Then comes transforming assessment for student development, which is holistic, multi-dimensional, reflecting greater details about the progress of students, redesigning report cards. Now, this is something which I am so passionate about it. I tell you why. Because our school became the top school in the country, not because we had a name and so much of money or whatever it is. No, it became one of the best in the country just because of assessment and evaluation, student assessment and evaluation. When I took over in 98, the school was the SSC board. And when I joined, I converted from the state board to the ICSE board. All right, not that the state board was bad, but the management took a decision and said they wanted me to proceed further. So when I went through it, first thing I laid my hands is on the student assessment. I wanted to see how the children are assessed by the teachers. Number two, how do they evaluate the learning of the children? That is number two. Number three, as a principal, I wanted to see the quality of the question papers set by the teachers. So one by one, I started collecting it. I spent number of hours together on reading it, understanding it, and I realized that if we are concentrating only on what, who, and when kind of questions, our children will not grow. We have to start assessing the children, teaching the children and assessing the children based on Bloom's taxonomy. Now, what is this Bloom's taxonomy? Knowledge, understanding, skill, application, analytical thinking, synthesis. These are the 6 skills. If all the 6 skills are given to the teachers in framing their lesson plans, they will start doing the lessons accordingly. The children will be guided accordingly so that the questions also can be asked accordingly. So the first revolution that I made in the entire school system when I took over charge was revamping the entire assessment and evaluation. Do you think, principals, I had a very easy gala time? No. Teachers were not with me. Parents were not with me. They were their children who were getting 75, 99 on 100 started getting only 65, 70 on 100. They were all worried, up in arms. आपको आने के पहले हमारे बच्चे अच्छे तरह से पढ़ते थे. Now our tuition teacher is also not able to. I said, why do you want a tuition teacher? My teachers are good enough. They are great teachers. They will teach you. Forget your tuition teacher. वो tuition teacher को कुछ भी पता नहीं है आपका teachers क्या पढ़ाई दे रहा है स्कूल में. I said, my teachers know what they are doing. All right. It is not for my job is not to teach your tuition teacher. All right. So the parents go up, you have to speak to them that language which they will understand. And this assessment and evaluation made them strongly, one of the best benefit I found was the children started reading. My libraries were overflowing. I had to create another library. Before I left the school, I had created 3 or 4 libraries. Huge libraries. Therefore, reading increased. When reading increases, the learning level increases. So student assessment and evaluation, my very dear teachers, is something which I would request the principals, the HODs, and the other teachers who are interested to look seriously into, study the matter and revamp it. Revamp it in such a way, what the government is asking you to do is, earlier, we were only assessing the children on intellectual development. We wanted the children, parents to know, oh, aapka bacha maths mein 50 on 100. Theek nahi kar raha hai. You have to make him do very well. What can the parents do? You only will have to tell them how he has to improve in studies. Parents can't know. Parents are not teachers. They would not know it. So please don't use that language to the parents. Let us work together. This is the language. You have to promise the parents that we will work together. And then this is what we were doing earlier. Now the government says this is not enough. And what was your report card? The student profile card. It had English, mathematics, second language, third language, Sanskrit, Gujarati, maths, all those things, marks gained, grade, all that, and then a report card. This is gone. It's gone forever. You have to include, along with the cognitive development, that is the intellectual development, you have to include the affective domain and psychomotor development. The affective domain includes the social development as well as your emotional development. How does your child behave socially, emotionally? You have to observe. You have to write in the profile that your son is a shy person, he's not socially active, or he's very disciplined, he has concern for others, with the proof. Your profile is going to be changing. You also have to write psychomotor development, the skill that he has, movement of his limbs, how well he does his practical, how is he able to work socially in the group, class, teamwork, all those skills are going to be assessed. So rapid change, a kind of a total revamp in your assessment is going to take place. Then comes your PARAK. Now this PARAK is actually a performance assessment, review and analysis of knowledge for holistic development. That is the full form. PARAK is a performance assessment and review and analysis of knowledge for holistic development. A PARAK is a body which is going to be set up by the government. Now, no more newspapers will accredit your school. Oh, #1 school in this world. That is not going to be a possibility. Okay? That kind of a, earlier the magazines were conducting such competitions, wasn't it? Which is the best school, which is the bad school, etc., etc. So, this is not going to be valid anymore. The PARAK agency, which is set up for quality assessment, will be the one which will give you the quality parameters. And on those quality parameters, you will have to set up your school and you have to transparently post it on your website as well. And so it is coming under MHRD and it is going to ask you certain objectives to fulfill those standards. Okay. So this is what it is going to talk about. And the recognized school boards of India, it is applicable everywhere. Agreed. So this Parak is a board or an accrediting agency that is going to help you anymore. You don't have to worry about this magazine conducting, oh, mere ko nahi mila. And very often I have seen, this is for your understanding, I'm seeing, those schools which are getting the top awards, I have seen better schools than them. And those better schools are probably from the rural area or even from the semi-urban area, and who are working very quietly. They are not interested in tom करके मेरा स्कूल ऐसा है वैसा है बोलने में तैयार नहीं है. They consider their job to teach. Finished. Many schools are there. Many of your schools also must be doing splendid job like that. So that is something you have to remember. Support for gifted students and special talents need establishing several learning circles, competitive Olympiad examinations, online apps with quizzes and competitions. We always, principals and teachers, are worried about those children who do not do well in studies, isn't it? When school results come, public exam results come, who are we worried? Oh, mera beta, ye pass ho gaya ya nahi? This is what we all worry about. But gifted children were ignored by most of us. What the government says is that we are not ready. We need gifted children. So, unke liye special competitive examinations, special learning circles, special Olympiad examinations are going to be organized, and that would be shared by the with the schools. Now, while the board exams for grade 10 and 12 will be continued, the existing system of board and entrance examination shall be reformed to eliminate the need for undertaking coaching classes. This is probably one of the best thing I liked. Now, coaching classes will almost come to an extent. They are charging lakhs and lakhs of rupees to the children, stating that they will make them prepare for the competitive examination. वो सब नहीं होएगा. The government itself is going to give you guidelines for passing the examination. What are the expectations of competitive examinations? And the coaching classes will come to an end, and you schools will be playing a great role. So this is what we are talking about with this one. Now comes teachers. Now teachers are extremely important people. What they are saying is recruitment and deployment is a big job. Recruiting TETs, teacher eligibility tests, are strengthened both in terms of content and pedagogy. TET and National Teacher Association scores considered. Fill the vacancies only with qualified and trained teachers. Principals and school managements will note that you cannot anymore appoint any untrained teacher. In case you have untrained teachers in your school, make sure that, and the teacher is good. Most probably the teacher may not have a qualification, but the teacher may be good also. So in that case, you would make them undergo training or ask them to take up the qualification through available means. And they are asking you, the teacher eligibility test will be conducted, and you may have to appoint teachers who have qualified the teacher eligibility test. So teachers sitting out there, you will please remember one thing. It is not enough that you have an MSc or an MEd or whatever qualifications you have. Every 2 or 3 years, you will have to refresh your knowledge, because science, mathematics, English, language, everything is changing. Technology is also changing. Therefore, you have to keep abreast of all knowledge, and so you may have to take interim, frequent TETs to make yourself alive in the school system. This is something the management will have to keep in mind. Service environment and culture, decent and pleasant service conditions at school should be there. Teachers should, they spend more time on teaching, caring and inclusive culture. for principals and teachers freedom for choosing the pedagogy. What they are saying is that the principals should give freedom to the teachers to teach the way they want. At least we should respect the teachers, thinking that they have a certain method to teach. Allow them to teach. You only observe the performance of the teachers and the students' attainment. Okay, pleasant working conditions should be given to the teachers. Good salary structure the government is asking the managements to establish seriously, and do not hesitate it, because I tell you why. One of the reforms that I did was that I appointed teachers. Suppose a teacher A is there and a teacher B is there. Teacher A has a postgraduate degree and an MEd. Teacher B also has a postgraduate degree and MEd. Both of them are equal. This teacher A has 5 years experience. Teacher B has 5 years experience. So they are okay. Caliber wise, they are both are good teachers. But A teaches in primary school. B teaches in secondary school. So B gets a better salary than A. So there is always a kind of a discontent with the teachers. A and B do not look eye to eye. It is not a great working situation condition for any teacher. In no way teacher A is lesser to teacher B. Therefore, I made a reform. I said, and I got it passed by the management also, is that teachers with similar qualifications, similar experience, similar competencies should be paid similar salary wherever they work, which actually makes the management at a better position. Because if a teacher B is not doing a good job at secondary level, there is no problem for you to lift the teacher from B and post it to some other section or say goodbye to the teacher. The choice is with the management. But then we need to respect the teacher's sentiment. They are working with children, several children. Their salary, their working conditions must be decent. Then only teacher attrition can be reduced and they will feel like working in our institutions. Now comes continuous professional development, which is called CPD, which the government is saying 50 hours of CPD is required every year. So for which they are also development ke liye, they are also giving their own interest. Whoever teachers can say CPD on latest pedagogy, assessment, competency based learning. School principals will have their leadership workshops also. It's not enough that the principal who was a leader yesterday will continue to be a leader, because today's leadership is different. Yesterday's leadership was different. So the principals also need training. So that also is in the annual, and CPD is very important. Career management and progression is something very important and very interesting, which they say proper incentives, salary and recognition for career development for teachers. Also parameters for their performance appraisal, vertical mobility of teachers based on merit. Outstanding teachers with demonstrated leadership and management skills would be trained over time to take up academic and leadership positions, which this is very important. One of my sincere appeal, and rather you can call it as an advice to the principal, is that it would be always good for you to train your own people from within, rather than bringing someone from outside. If you have a talent within, identify the talent and do performance appraisal for them and give them a career development option. Make them HODs or supervisors or coordinators or cultural coordinators or academic head or vice principal, whatever it is. But for the principal, you need not worry that your position will be taken up by these people. They cannot. If you are too good in your position, why would the management want you to move? They will not want you to move. And probably they may want you to move to a higher cadre. Maybe you become a senior principal, or maybe you become a director, whatever it is. So this is what is called empowerment. Empower your staff to grow. Every teacher at the end of the day, be it principal, I'm talking about myself also. At the end of the day, be it a teacher or a principal or a management or a consultant, paid puja hai. Everybody needs money to live in this world. So their career development is something which we need to seriously remember. Professional standards for teachers also will be developed by the NCTE's National Council for Teacher Education. They will be developing it. Standards, there will be a separate professional standards setting body. And they will give you guidance for professional standards. So you can have your performance assessment of the teachers based on that. One more thing also the government is saying, which the teachers may not like, but it is true, and I approve of it and agree with it, that your promotion or increment every year is not just by like that, just like that. Only if you qualify, you will be given an increment. It is not by virtue of a year past, you get the next DA and other arrears. No. You have to qualify the performance assessment by the school principal and the kind of group of committee which is formed by the people, and that has to work positively on. You may ask, what if the principal and the committee members are partial and favorite, showing favoritism? No, they can't, because certain standards are set up by professional setting standards, and on those standards these teachers need to be evaluated. And only if you qualify, you will get an increment. If you don't qualify, you will not get an increment. So better, let us start working towards that. Special educators need to be given special importance and training and importance for handling the children with disabilities. Divyang children, they are called. And so such a training for secondary training and pre-service training, and colleges, in colleges also such training is required. Such people need to be appointed by the principal. Approach to teacher education is changing, because B.Ed and M.Ed programs are changing. Outstanding education departments for B.Ed and M.Ed and PhD, 4-year integrated B.Ed programs are going to be there. And for graduates, it is 1-year B.Ed program, and shorter post-B.Ed certification courses are also possible. And a new comprehensive national curriculum framework for teacher education will be formulated by the NCTE in consultation with NCERT. So teachers per se, my very dear teachers, a lot of things for your development, career progression has been suggested by the government. Guidance is going to be given to the school managements. Only thing what you need to do is to motivate your own self. Get yourself to the real need of the hour and change, drastically change. Develop an attitude. That is a problem with some of us. Some of us do not have the right attitude to work. You know, all those things are gone with the wind. You can't. Now comes equitable and inclusive education, learning for all. This is primarily for the management, socio-economically disadvantaged group. You have to include gender identities, geographic identities, socio-cultural identities, socio-economic identities, disabilities, victims, orphans, all of them should be taken care of. So management, school managements which are very philanthropic have a good access to this, to fulfill this task. Providing more facilities for the socially and economically disadvantaged group. One-on-one teachers and tutors, peer tutoring, open schooling, better infrastructure and suitable technological interventions are all going to be given to these people. So this is also very important. Gender inclusion fund, something which they are going to create, government is going to create. This is to build the nation's capacity to provide equitable quality education for girls as well as transgender students. Something so beautifully thought of. These transgender children did not belong to any place so far. Government is recognizing. I would sincerely request the managements, those who can afford to do something to this transgender group as well as the girls, and to provide equitable kind of education if possible, if they have enough infrastructure and facilities. Ensuring the inclusion and equal participation of children with disabilities, early childhood care and education and in schooling system will also be accorded with highest priority everywhere. That is access to everyone, inclusion. Alternative forms of schools will be encouraged to preserve their traditions or alternative pedagogical styles. If children cannot afford to attend school, formal or non-formal or NIOS or any other system of education will also be arranged. Alternative system, and homeschooling also is one option. People who cannot attend, they are very, very physically disadvantaged group. They cannot come to school in any way, but don't they have to learn? They can learn. All right. Then change in the school culture. Training will be given for all leadership, administrative and other positions in school, recruiting more efficient teachers to stand as role models for these students. I was doing a kind of a little bit of a lesson to some schools. Selection of teachers is a big job. What we usually do is, okay, teacher ka vacancy aaya, advertisement kiya. If the schools are very rich enough, they have an HR department. वो advertisement दिया, 1000 applications आया, उसमें से they will shortlist. Principal has no time, so they shortlisted. What do the administrator know about the school? What do the HR? What does the HR person know about what you need? You should have a control. Principals, you should have a control in selecting the right kind of teacher, because you are made for that. And what do? Some interview will take place, first level of interview, and then a demo will be taken, and they will come and sit in front of you, last interview with the principal, and you will ask few questions, and you will find very good, because the look of the person is so very good, very polished. It doesn't mean that always the very polished teachers are the great. Very great communicators need not be very great teachers all the time. Please don't think like that. There may be shy teachers, not becoming of a teacher though, but they are very good teachers. They know their job very well. Okay, but usually they miss the target. The principal's eye, they miss the principal's eye. So the principal has to create. The government is also giving you methods and training to select the teachers. How to select? It doesn't. I have seen in many cases, lot of money, energy, time is spent in appointing the staff. After 1 month, the teacher will come and tell you, the principal, sorry, I can't work. I'm going. Why are you going? I can't work under this coordinator. I can't work under this supervisor. The HOD spoke like that. So very sensitive are today's teachers. Very difficult. For a principal, it is very, very difficult to handle. And it is not good for you teachers also. Let me tell you. Now, if the HOD or the supervisor or somebody else is going to instigate you for such a thing, then you are no good at all. Please remember that. And the principal has to rigorously go through the process once again. And the middle of the year, you people leave the organization. Please don't do that. Children are at a loss, actually. No, most of the people understand this. Some people are there is a difficulty. Now comes the seventh one, efficient resourcing and effective governance through school complexes and clusters. This is particularly applicable to rural areas. Rural areas may, one of the difficulties what the schools face is getting good teachers, getting good counselors, getting good special educators, PE teachers, music teachers, art teachers, language teachers, math teachers. What the government is saying, don't worry, you form a cluster of schools. All those schools in the nearby area, certain area, form a cluster. And you develop your own school development plan. That cluster can develop a school development plan. There would be some schools which have very great teachers in mathematics. Some others will have great teachers in English. They are asking you to share the teachers. Share the governance principles. Share your school development plan and form clusters. Adequate staff resources you have here. They're also asking you Samagra Shiksha scheme. That's what they are calling it. Samagra, holistic Samagra Shiksha scheme is what they call. And group or rationalized schools. A group of people, group of schools with common governance, common development plans, sharing the teachers, etc. Then they are called school complexes and sharing their resources, both material and other resources, human resources. And if one group of school has got better infrastructure, the other schools can also share that resources, maybe at a nominal cost or whatever. Or I don't know, maybe the government may even pay you money for that. Then a twinning or pairing of one public school with one private school. This is so very good concept. One public school, that is a government school, with one private school. If one private school can adapt or adopt one government school and share the resources, that is what the government is looking forward to from you. I have done this way back 20 years back, and it has worked wonders. So adequate staff, resources, promoting sense of unity, endorsing idea of school complexes with greater resources, efficient and better functioning, significant autonomy by the Department of School Education to these clusters to innovate, integrate and use the pedagogy, whatever is suitable. So the Department of School Education is giving them total freedom to develop their own strategies, their own method of teaching, their own system of development, anything. They can develop a common development plan, which would be approved by the government. Schools will develop their own school development plans with the help of their school management committees to form the school development programs involving other institutions. So this is something they are talking about, the number 8, which is very important. Standard setting and accreditation for school education. I already mentioned it to you there when we were talking about holistic development of schools and pedagogy differences. Here what they are saying is curbing the commercialization, exploitation of parents. They don't want the parents and children to be commercially exploited. They are very clear, this fees, that fees, udhar ka fees, idhar ka fees. Okay, agreed. Some fees is required for you to run, but uske hisab se you have to give a parallel commensurate with whatever you are charging, you have to give the services. Otherwise, it is considered by the government as fleecing, which they are going to come heavily on the schools, which are going to commercially fleece the parents. Minimal professional and quality standards they are asking the schools to keep. You have to seriously think about some standard procedures for working of your school. I would say, as principal, I would say, since you are entering into 21-22, set clear academic goals for your schools with your teachers. Yes, this year for grade 1, In English, I will do this. In math, I will do. Science, history, geography, I'll be doing like that. Have clear-cut academic goal. Then you strategize it. What method I will do? What is the time limit I will need to complete it? So minimal professional standards are expected. Transparent public self-disclosure. The schools are expected to disclose everything that they do on their website. PARAK, National Achievement Survey, National Assessment Survey, autonomous body is going to be here. Nobody is going to, no government is going to sit on this PARAK NAS. They are independent body, which itself is beautiful. No school can influence them. No management can influence them. No government can influence them. They are independent. And school, Department of School Education is responsible for this entire standard setting body. They will have the Directorate of School Education coming under the DSE. DSE is the major supervisory board. All right. Then here they are talking about the DSE, the Educational Operations and Service Provisions for Public Schools come under the Directorate of School Education. DSE is the apex body, Department of School Education. Here what it comes, academic matters like academic standards and curricula will be managed by SCERT, the state boards. Okay, change management process in the 3 years to come to increase the capacity and work culture of institutions will be dramatically changing. Then the private and public schools will be accredited on the same standards. Beautiful. This will help the state board schools to take up more responsibility, and some of those private schools who take it lightly to become responsible enough. And the Quality Assessment and Accreditation Forum will be developed by the SCERT for accreditation. Private philanthropic work for quality education will be encouraged. And National Achievement Survey for student learning levels, combining efforts with NCERT and State Assessment Survey to fill up gaps and improve. So generally, the periodic checkup will be done as to how much your children are learning, what are they doing. So schools are always under the radar of the government. You are answerable. You are accountable. You have to perform. If you don't perform, you will perish. Creation of National Education Technology Framework. Now, this is totally a separate setup the government is doing for technology advances. So, dedicated institution at the center and the state level to strengthen the deployment of technology. Whatever good technology you need, this department will be able to straight away help you. To exchange ideals for learning, assessment, planning. That is all your online assessments, online classes, any hybrid learning environment, the government will be able to help. This NETF will be able to help. This NETF also promotes research and innovation, building intellectual and institutional capacities and focus on strategic trust areas. So that is what the creation of NETF is going to be. Assessment reforms are like this. 10th and 12th will continue. Tested on concepts and competencies and not on content. Need for coaching classes will be eliminated. In 1 year, twice the board exams can be taken. One, the main, and the other is improvement examination. School examinations are held in 3, 5, and 8. That is what they say. Test basic learning outcomes, moving away from rote memorization and continuous assessment. What do they test here? Core concepts, key competencies, higher order thinking skills application. That's what I said, the Bloom's taxonomy. So that will be taken care of. Emphasizes constructivism. Now, what is this constructivism? Constructivism is a learning procedure where the children say, I learn. So far, the ownership of learning is that of the teacher. Teacher has to be piche padna chahiye all the time. Did you learn? Did you learn? Did you prepare for exam? No more. The children have to take ownership. I learned this and so I got it. So constructivism is more like that. Okay. Increased flexibility in school curriculum to track the progress throughout the school years. Use data for monitoring and improvement. NEP takeaway in brief. Focus on curriculum. Refuses to burden the children with content. Integrated learning and skill incorporation. Quality of teachers and their professional development. Accountability in the system. Very good. I will underline that. Teachers are accountable. Principals are accountable. Schools managements are accountable. Credibility of assessments. Regulatory focus on outcomes to leverage the quality. All private and public schools must focus on learning outcomes as against learning inputs. We were testing the children so far on what we taught, not on what they learned. So from now on, you have to teach the children, or you have to test the children on what they learned and not on what you taught. So separation of roles to establish impartial approach, independent school standards authority. Then learning outcome measurement and disclosure, common accreditation for private and government school. And it also talks about integrated pedagogy, art, sports, storytelling, and ICT. These are all very, very essential technical skill. Going in the digital mode totally, you have to talk about the integration of technology, integration of the 21st century skills like collaboration, communication, creativity, and innovation and digitization. Digital literacy is going to be very important. Perseverance, self-direction, asking great questions, everything. Every student will take a 1 year long course during grade 6 to 8 that gives a survey and hands-on experience of sampling of important vocational craft. Okay, any vocational craft, be it sculpting or any technical skill, basic skill, he has to qualify himself. Either electrical courses or carpentry, anywhere. This can include carpentry, electric work, metal work, gardening, pottery, as decided. Okay, so practice-based curriculum would be provided by the NCERT. The new mantra for the students from the Prime Minister of India is this: engage, explore, experience, express, excel. And all these E's are to be done by the individual. There is no second person there. Engage. Who has to engage? You have to engage. The student has to engage. Who has to explore? Student has to explore. Who has to experience? Student has to experience. Who has to express? Student has to express. Who has to excel? Student has to expel. If all these are to take place, behind this, you are there. If you are not 100% perfect, this cannot happen. I wouldn't expect all the teachers to be 100% perfect, not even the principal. If 70% you are bringing out your talents, that is more than sufficient. Technology is just a tool. In terms of getting the kids to work together and motivating them, the teacher is the most important. Who said this? Bill Gates. You are very important because you are great. Thank you very much. God bless you. Namaste. For so much of time you have given me. Thank you. God bless you. We'll meet again.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for a wonderful session. I hope everyone enjoyed. There were comments, in the comment box. People loved it, and they are thanking you for the session.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us this evening. I hope everybody has got benefited from the session.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vijay and Ravi ma'am, for all that, for wonderfully decoding NEP for all of us, ma'am. It was a pleasure listening to you, and I think all of us have takeaway this evening with us about the NEP, and definitely we have been enlightened about the NEP, and we will definitely go out there, many of us, and implement it, ma'am.
Great.
Thank you so much, Vijay ma'am.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you all participants across. Like there are numerous people across different schools. Thank you all. Thank you all the heads of the institutions who have joined in. Thank you all the teachers who have joined in. Thank you Nidhi ma'am. Thank you Sham sir. Everybody. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you and have a good evening, everybody. Thank you so
Great.
much, Dr. Ravi.
Thank
Have a
you.
good evening and have a happy weekend, all of you.
Great. Happy Christmas to all of you. Bye.
Merry Christmas. Yeah. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.